Essa, thank you for that. Now, Tellis spoke at length about that jury decision and how he says the jury in his murder trial got it wrong.
And tonight, 8 News Now investigator Kyle Payne has the first public interview with one of those jurors who says she and those 11 other jurors got it right. Kyle, what else did that juror say?
Ryan, Ozzy, one of the big things we're learning from this juror, at some point, the jury wrote a note telling the judge they were deadlocked. One juror wanted to acquit Robert Tellis, but as we know, they all ended up voting guilty. Do you think Robert Tellis got a fair trial?
He did, without a doubt. And the fact that he was allowed to do a narrative as a testimony makes it even more so that he received a fair trial.
Robert Tellis murder trial, juror number 6, asking the 8 News Now investigators not to use her name or show her face, preferring instead to let her 2.5 weeks of jury service do the talking.
I didn't kill Mr. Gurman.
Just like Tellis did for 3 days on the stand, explaining his theory that he was framed and making this assertion.
When the medical examiner testified, that's the first time I'd learned how Mr. Gurman was murdered.
Which juror number 6 simply couldn't believe.
Blatant lie.
But Tellis was convincing enough, perhaps, on the stand, and his defense attorney, Robert Draskevich, persuasive enough.
Metro makes mistakes.
That when the jury of 5 men and 7 women took its very first vote behind closed doors, 7 had Tellis guilty and 1 was absolutely certain of it. 4 were undecided and 1 thought Tellis was not guilty.
I was keeping an open mind. I had not made a decision at that point based upon the testimony and evidence that had been presented. If I were to vote at that time, it would have been for guilty.
Then, as they reviewed the evidence and looked at this photo of someone in the murderer's dark red SUV,
Look at the profile.
and saw a man that didn't look like Tellis because this driver had hair, they realized that hair was a shadow, and the vote changed. Now 8 jurors thought Tellis was guilty and 4 not guilty.
He thought that he was smarter than everyone else, and so if he did all these things, no one would be able to point the finger of blame at him.
Another deep dive into the evidence, and this jury got closer to guilt, voting 10-2 to send Tellis to prison, which eventually all 12 agreed to do, using damning scientific evidence to make their verdict.
The evidence was not wrong. Our decision was based upon the evidence presented. He didn't question the evidence. He questioned the motive behind the evidence, was that he was being set up. But when your DNA is under the victim's fingernails, that's a clear signal as well.
Juror number 6 tells me they were split on whether to sentence Tellis to life in prison without the possibility of parole. But then Tellis' mother testified, saying she accepted the jury's verdict, but asked that he have a chance to see his children again. That convinced the jury to give Tellis the opportunity to one day see the light of day, Ozzy.